As children, we were taught that we live in a fallen world. We read the first pages in the book of Genesis and learned about Adam and Eve, about paradise, a tree, a fruit, God's command, and a colossal act of disobedience that led to chaos. And that chaos somehow is at the root of the imperfect world into which we were born. Whatever your religious commitment may or may not be, the degree of your Christian allegiance, or your affiliation with the Armenian Church, very few people would disagree that the world is not well. Something is very wrong and needs to be fixed, needs to be healed. As I speak to you in mid-July 2020, symptoms of fundamental disorder are painfully all around us. A global pandemic has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives and wrought untold sorrow and misery to the doorstep of virtually every person on planet Earth. Our country is racked by intolerance and polarization, violence, domestic abuse, addiction, lack of health care for a growing number of people, anxiety, mental illness, physical and emotional agony, and suicide. The usual temporary outlets for our pain and frustration have been taken away. Social distancing prevents us from being with one another, consoling one another. Entertainment and sports venues, shopping centers, and restaurants are only minimally functioning, if at all. Even our churches are greatly limited in their ability to reach out and do God's work. Our world cries out for healing, for lasting healing, and so do we. It's not a coincidence that the vast majority of Jesus' miracles, and the most dramatic ones, were acts of healing. How often Jesus went out of his way to step up to a nameless person on the side of the road, homeless people, people who had been discarded because their ailments and impairments made them useless to a society that set its sights and ambitions elsewhere. These healing miracles were not just isolated feats of divine power. They were that, of course, but more than that, they are illustrations of Jesus' overall mission: to bring healing to a sorely sick and troubled world. The Bible refers to this mission as salvation, purgutun. A woman who had suffered for years with a debilitating illness said, "If I only touch his garment, I shall be made well." Jesus turned, and seeing her, he said, "Take heart, my daughter, your faith has made you well." And instantly the woman was made well. Notice the words of Matthew, the gospel writer. Instantly the woman was made well. We assume that her physical illness was healed, and well, it may have been. But the healing that Jesus gives is far more than successful medical treatment. It is wellness for every rich aspect of human life: physical, mental, emotional, moral, social, spiritual, eternal. Sometimes God's healing through Jesus Christ transcends even physical healing. If only I touch his garment, I shall be made well. The restoration of well-being for ourselves, our loved ones, our church, our nation, our world begins with this: touching the Lord's garment, looking out for the Lord. Even if our physical eyes don't see him and our minds debilitate us in doubt, stretching the fingers of our heart out to Jesus Christ, beyond our comfort zone, in hope and in prayer, in the church and in the Holy Badarak, in the sacraments and in communion with our fellow pilgrims in this troubled world. And let us never forget that we, children of God and children of the Armenian Church, have been given the exceptional privilege to serve as the Lord's healing hands in this world. the unimaginable grace to be agents of God's salvation. May Christ the healer bring God's life-giving grace to you and to all.